All right, so let's differentiate these two. So first, remember, we have to identify the inside function and the outside function. So the inside function is a thing that you can kind of cover up and put a box around. So if I can put a box around it and I still have a function, then that means that the function that we still have, that sign of some variable, is the outside function. And we can call this guy u, and put a u in there. And then our u is the inside function. So this is inside function and outside function. So inside, outside. It is important to know that that x squared is an input to sine. So that's still like one function, not multiplication, but sine of something. So we're going to take our formula is to take the derivative of the outside function in terms of the inside function, and then multiply that by the derivative of the outside function. So that is the derivative of sine is cosine, and the inside function, we don't change it for that first step. And then we multiply it by the derivative of the inside function. So that's derivative of u in terms of x, and u here is x squared. So I'll put an x squared right there. And then I can, now for this step, I've already done all the calculus on this part. So I'm just going to rewrite that. It just goes along for the ride till the very end. And now when I see the d dx, that tells me I got calculus to do. So now I take the derivative of that and I get 2x. So now my calculus is done. All the d dx's are gone. I just need to reorganize it with trig functions. We like to put the coefficients, the constants, the single variables out in front. So I'm going to switch the order of this one, and I get this. All right, now sine of x squared is different than sine squared of x. Sine squared of x is really shorthand for this, that thing being squared. So it's kind of interesting to look at this one because we have, before I said if you can cover it up and put a box around it, part of it, then that's your inside function. That's not really true, but that's because of this notation is kind of shorthand. But what it really means is what I have here. So inside function is actually the sine of x. And whoops, I usually use blue for that. In fact, let me write this function in black. So this is really sine of x squared. So my inside function is the sine of x. And my outside function is the square. So my outside function is the something squared, and my inside function is the sine of x. So going from the outside in, we write 2 times the variable, and then we subtract 1 from 2 and we get 1. So just 2 times variable. And in this case, the variable is sine of x. So I don't touch that g function, that inside function. I just keep it there and just do the derivative of the outside function. And then I'm going to multiply by the derivative of the inside function. So that gives me 2 times sine of x times, and then the derivative of sine of x is negative cosine of x. Oops, sorry. No, it's not. It's just cosine of x. And then I can simplify that. I don't really need those parentheses. I got my coefficient already in front. So the parentheses are just, they're not wrong, but they're not needed. So they're irrelevant. So we get that. And then you might recognize this. I would probably take this as a final answer, but to make it even better, I would recognize that this is a trig identity. For sine of 2x. In part C, we have the trig identity of a trig identity. So the angle, remember, whenever I have this, this is actually the angle. So the angle that we're plugging into cosine is actually another trig function. So we have a chain rule with a trig function as the input. So our outside function is going to be cosine, and our inside function is the sine. So I get y prime equals the outside function, so that's the cosine, the derivative of that is negative sine, and I don't touch the inside function, just copy it in, and then take the derivative of the inside function. That equals, now on the next step, I'll take the derivative of sine, which is negative cosine. Oh, I'm sorry, I keep doing that. Sorry, cosine. Okay, so now it looks tempting to kind of square this because it looks like sine times sine, but it's not. Remember, this is the angle, so this is not multiplication. This sine x is the input of this sine. So sine x is the input, is the angle. So do not multiply those. It looks like the same symbol because of the parentheses, it means multiplication, but notice there's nothing else here, right? Sine means nothing by itself. It has to have an angle with it. So that angle happens, in this case, happens to be sine of x. So it looks kind of funny, but that is our final answer. I think actually, in order to kind of avoid that funny notation, I would take it one step further. So this isn't wrong, but just to make it clearer, I would bring this cosine out in front, keep the negative out in front. So cosine of x times sine of x. So it looks a little clearer what the trig functions are.